What I'm saying, actually, you see, I mean, it's a combination
As an expert
of both.
in the various martial arts in China, what did you think of the fighting that you saw in the
But
movies?
martial art has a very, very deep meaning.
So what the numbering system will look like when I'm cutting at you, you're the person so you can see it coming at you, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, as I said, is a conceptual circle. I'm learning to keep the tool outside my arm, not inside my arm. That hurts. So 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there's actually 12 full angles. A couple of them are conceptual. Yes, I could do it reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, 6, 7, 8, picking with the tip, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 12. So I could do it forward or reverse. The numbering system is just so that when I bring Miss Amy back out, and I don't have to go, can you give me, cross your body and do this. If we want to train, I can go, can you please feed me a 1? So I know where it's coming from. Or I might want to work on a 2 and I'll go, Miss Amy, feed me a 2. And I can work on it. Might be I want to learn on horizontal. I can go, feed me a 3. I can tell her I'm going to go from a 3 and feed her a 2 response. The numbering system is just to make sure that you can train and understand angles. After a while, you're just going to respond to motion. But that's the whole numbering system. Nothing fancy. And yes, like I said, some are conceptual to teach you ways not to cut yourself. What we're going to do now is called 3 count. It gets called lots of different names. In the Philippines, it's sombrada. It means the shadow. Shadowing means a motion comes in, I stop it, I find the closest place to go. Someone else is going to stop it and go. In this drill, one of us gets to act out as the bad guy, the other's the good guy. As soon as we stop the bad guy's action, we become the bad guy. So we each get to interact and we learn faster. Now there's only 3 motions to this drill, which makes it very easy to learn. Once you have the basic idea, then we're going to show you how to sort of subtly alter the drill. And there's going to be modules, so you can stick them in wherever you want. So I'm going to bring Miss Amy back out, and we're going to start 3 count. Thank you, Miss Amy. Okay, Miss Amy's going to start with a 1, and she's going to be cutting at me. The first time, we did a cut and pass, but now we're in close. So I'm going to cut a 1 to her 1, I'm going to check, and I'm going to feed a 4. Let me just cut at you from and see. She's bad. She's cutting my neck. I'm good. I just cut and disabled her hand. At this point, remember I said we become the bad guy. Now I'm the bad guy because what I would do to Miss Amy is rip right across her abdomen. So when I start to do it, Miss Amy's going to check me, palm up. She's going to step back and she cuts my hand. Now Miss Amy becomes the bad guy. She's going to cut right through what? Right through my head and split me open. So I'm the good guy. I'm going to pick my tool up. The knife catches her on the inside of her arm, and I cut her hand. I'm the good guy. At this point right here, I'm the bad guy. I feed a 1 at Miss Amy. She's going to cut it and check. She feeds me a 4. I check, palm up. Now I'm going to put my knife away for a minute. The reason I check palm up, and I know some people go, oh, you check palm down, is because notice what already happened. If I check palm, ooh. Well, let me try. Let's see if I do it a little faster what will happen. Checking palm down, I'm actually riding over because I'm aiming for spot. Yes, I might get behind her, but that's easier to do palm up. Because palm up, if I miss palm up, it's still my arm blocks the blow from getting to me. And that's much more important than did I try to pass it away? Did I try to check it on the, ooh, gee, it still moves through. So when I cut in and a 4 comes at me, I want to check it palm up. I'm bringing my hand down and I'm cutting her hand. I'm cutting around the thumb and the first finger. I'm cutting to make sure she can't hold the weapon, and then I feed a 12. Miss Amy umbrellas, checks, and she feeds a 1. I cut it, I check, I feed a 4. She checks and cuts, feeds a 12. I umbrella, I check, I feed a 1. Now we're each only doing 3 moves. The moves are 1, 4, and 12. What we're learning is, off of this cut, Miss Amy's learned to cut, and the quickest counter is underneath. I learned that the quickest counter from cutting is to come back with a high line. Miss Amy's learned that from a high line cut, her easiest is to clear to the open space and feed it back. I learned to stop it and check. The reason we check is if I put steel here, and we're going to just continue through. I cut Miss Amy's arm. It should have stopped. See, it's right there. My throat got cut. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut and I'm going to stop it. I'm not grabbing on for dear life. In real time, you might. You might have a chance to do that. I don't know what she's doing. But I do know no matter what, I can at least try to stop this from its motion and come back. Same thing here. She's stopping the motion and coming back. And in one pause, what I want to see is right here when she cuts down, I'm actually between. Her hand is pushing up, the blade's pushing down, and what's caught in the middle is my hand. If both were on top, I can move away. So in this case, I'm caught between the middle. Right here, again, I'm pushing and I'm scissoring. The blade's on the outside and underneath, and it's on opposite sides. Okay, that's basic 3 count. What we're learning again is how to feed a strike, how to stop the incoming strike, and how to counter. We learn what's the easiest place to go to. What I mean by go to is if I cut, it would be very hard to cut, pull all the way around to attack up towards Miss Amy's head or shoulder. It would be harder to have to try to move her around to come on a high line when all I had to do was feed low. I'm already here. So that's what I'm learning. Same thing off a high line. I could do over and under, but it's easier to be in this open line. Same thing. I'm feeding to where I've left myself an open space. So I'm learning what's the easiest thing to do, the most natural thing to do. She's learning how to defend against it. That's what's important about 3 count. There's a lot more variations. We can add all sorts of cuts to it, but this is the foundation. This simple little drill is the foundation for understanding how to use both hands within a context of being medium range and using steel. Thank you. That simple drill, again, is called 3 count. One of the variations we're going to do of 3 count is a simple one. We're just going to move the reverse grip. Now, some of you, when you're watching this, you notice we're not moving around a lot. And part of that is we're filming a video. So we're confined to where we can move. Again, that's one of the things just sort of tells you, go, hey, Bram doesn't have his goggles on. If you heard me in previous videos with George and his lights filming me, we had goggles on, I couldn't see anything. Same thing is why we're not really moving around a lot. All right, so when you practice, you'll move around. But now, let's go to reverse grip. Miss Amy, it's not going to be any different. Here's the 1. I'm going to cut and check, feed 4 back, Miss Amy, in this case, is picking and cutting, feeding a 12. I'm going to catch it with umbrella and spread it, and I'll feed a 1 as a cut. She cuts it, she's coming with a cut. This time, instead of doing like Miss Amy, pick and cut, I'm going to cut across and feed a 12. She umbrellas. She comes in, I'm going to pick and cut and use a thrust for the 4. She does a slice. I come up for umbrella and pass it. And let me just show you on number 4. When 4 is coming in, it could be either with an edge or it could be with a thrust. If she was forward grip, here's the 4, exact same motion. Reverse grip, please. When this comes in, I have a choice. I can just fade back and cut. I could stick it with the tip and cut, or I might be cutting across. All of them are going to lead to a high line strike. So in reverse grip, I get to play with the tip and with the edge. It won't change the drill, but it changes how you perceive it and gives you a little better understanding to not be intimidated by the difference in direction of the blade. So again, I cut, I come 12, there's the umbrella. It comes in, I cut, I check, I feed a 4. There's a cross, hand up, palm up, here comes the 12. I still umbrella, I feed a 1. I could pick and cut, feed a 12. I could pick this hand and cut. The thing with picking is you have to be pretty accurate to drive this. It's much easier to put a length of steel to the hand. So you can see from this, it's no different when I put it into reverse grip. It's the same thing as using a forward grip, exact same motion. And to prove it, the same as in reverse grip, I'll move to a forward grip. This is called unequal. So I cut, check, feed a 4. She cuts and feeds a 12. I umbrella. I feed a 1. She cuts and checks and feeds a 4. I cut her hand, I feed a 12. She umbrellas, she feeds a 1. Thank you. So when we do this, it doesn't matter what grip we're in. Anybody can do it. One of the things that made Professor Presos and Modern East so different was he was left-handed. So everything's in a right-handed world. So he learned it right-handed, but then he'd put it in his left hand. And people go, well, they just do mirror image of what you're doing. But it doesn't quite work that way, because the whole world is based on a right-handed method. That means left-handed people have to, reorient. It's not just I put it in my left hand. I have to deal with my left hand to someone else's right. That means technically I'm moving everything backwards, because this would be a forwards motion. To make it work with my left hand, I have to think in the exact opposite mode. Now, if people come to me and go, how do I deal with a left-handed person? Well, it's not how we have to deal with a left-handed person. It's how does a left-handed person think? So what I learned from him, Professor Presos that is, I've learned to adapt it to the knife work, and we're going to do what I call backwards. Backwards is left to right. So Miss Amy, we're going to do the same 3-count drill. Miss Amy is feeding a 1. Now I want you to see something. I'm going to have her face the camera. Here's a 1 in her right hand. That means a 1 in my left hand, it comes from the same angle. When she feeds a 4, which is a counter, here's the same angle, a 4. Where's a 12? Okay, same basic moves, but notice they're backwards of each other. She's open, I'm closed. So when a 1 comes in, I cut, check, and I feed a 4. Miss Amy checks, cuts, and feeds a 12. Now I'm going to do with my left hand what's called a slant block. Notice that if I was right-handed, it's an umbrella. With my left hand, my hands are in the exact same spot, the check hand and the blade hand. And I slant away, and in right-handed mode, I would feed a 1. In left-handed mode, I still feed a 1 because a 1 is a 1. She feeds a 4. I stop it, I cut, I feed a 12. Now the reason I stick my arm down is just like what I told you about a standard palm up. I want to stop this motion. The easiest motion for me, because this is cut and come right at me, is to drop my free hand. And notice, again, Miss Amy is between my hands. In a right-handed mode, she's between my hands. I put a barrier and stopped it. I put a barrier and I stopped it. Yes, I might have been able to cut across my body, but I'm learning left-handed. It's easier to cut back across and catch. Thank you. What I'm getting out of this when we do it is I'm learning what it feels like to be a left-handed person and deal with everyone else who's right-handed. Because they decide how everything works. Door handles, everything else. They decide the majority of the attacks coming at me. Everyone thinks right-handed. So I've learned by putting my left hand, I don't set the rules. I have to play within the rules of the game. It's a right-handed world. What Miss Amy gets to learn, or your partner training against you, is what happens when a left-handed person is dealing with a right-handed person. So now we've started to understand what's going on between an unequal grip here. In the unequal side of left to right or right to left, we begin to feel it, which is important. And of course, later on, we would change up. Put it in her left hand, put it in my right hand, and we'd still do what we do call backwards. And backwards is important, again, because it's teaching you how a left-handed person deals in a right-handed world. All the things that we've done on volumes 1 and 2 are what I consider modules. When I say modules, it means we have a set group of movements, and you can mix and match them. And that means I can have someone doing forward grip while someone else is doing reverse grip. We can change from standard to backwards to mirror image to backwards. In between some of this, between the modules, are things I call connecting bridges. And that means, and I need to bring Miss Amy out, just to give you an idea, if I've cut and I start to feed, this position here could be just about anything, because it's just this if I take it out of time. And you see as we do more of the drills that sometimes we might be passing. At other times, we might be entering. At other times, it just may be a standard entry. Thank you. That as I'm adding these things, if there's a common thread, and that's what you have to picture, a needle and thread, and it goes to one set of 3. Space of thread goes to another space of 3. It goes like you're putting a quilt together. And it's a patchwork quilt. I used to look at these quilts with all these different colors and go, what do they have in common? What they have in common is the connecting thread. So as you're learning these modules, you can put them together any way you want. That means even the passing. So when I was doing flow drill and we pass, they could pass and cut. That'll lead back to 3 count. I could move it around and go right back to 3 count. I could be in my opposite hand, 3 count. I could be in reverse grip, take it back to 3 count. So right now, what I'm going to do with Miss Amy is called a high line drill. Then we'll show you how we cut it on a low line. And this is just a little connecting thread that you can add into other stuff. So bring up Miss Amy. And this is not reality. This is training your hand to be on a high line. So when she cuts either a 1, thrusts a high line 1, feeds almost a 12, it's not going to matter. What I'm doing is I'm picking up on the high line with my blade, I'm coming underneath, and I'm coming high. The reason I'm doing this is a lot of people like to cut, grab, and they come high right here. But when I come high, I cut my own arm. So they like to cut, check it, and feed. Well, it's only a training knife, right? Isn't it? It's only a training knife. The scary part is if I do this real time, I cut my own arm. How you practice is how you're going to actually do it. You don't have to train quickly, train correctly. So I'm training my hands that I pick this up high line, I reach underneath, because in this position, I'm free to cut at Miss Amy. So I cut high line. She's learning. Now notice, even if she checked me way up here, as she brings her knife to cut, she's going to slide her hand away. Why? So that she doesn't keep it here and go, oh, Bram, I cut my fingers off. She learns as she moves to do what? Shift and do high line. She's cleared me. She has this whole high line space. Now, I've seen this done. People pick their blade up and turn. Where's Miss Amy's arm? Her hand is on my arm. Her arm is pushing down. So her arm and hand are keeping this down as this object flies at my face. In this case, I have to rotate and check it first. Rotation brings my blade up. I cut. I'm in here. I'm going to sneak right in, only Miss Amy picks it up with her blade, reaches underneath, because by pushing down with her hand, she's cleared the high line. I check it. As I go to bring my blade up, I slide and cut, and I come up high line. She stops it. She cuts me. She comes right in this space, and I pick it up. What we're learning is clearing the arm in a space to clear high line. I'm learning to get out of the way and clear the high line. She's learning to stop it, clear the space, and fill the high line. And we're learning to not cut our own hands as we're on a high line motion. Now, here's low line. This is the same thing. And you'll find, that's why I said when we cut it here, if I find myself here, I have to drop low. But it's no different. Miss Amy checks and cuts up. We're right back into high line. So if you make a mistake and find out you're below the arm, don't try to cut up, cut low. Miss Amy does just like she does on 3 count, cuts across and comes high. It wouldn't matter if it's a 12. It'd be the same thing for me to feed in. There's a connecting thread. This is called a high line drill. This drill gives you a piece to connect with the rest of them, so that you can tie it in when you find yourself in that spot, that you can move to the rest of a 3 count drill. And again, that's called a high line drill.
What I'm saying, actually, you see, I mean, it's a combination
As an expert
of
in the various martial arts in China, what did you think of the fighting that you saw in the movies?
Martial art has a very, very deep meaning.